Talofa lover, I'm Clara. It's pretty disturbing, isn't it? Tune into New Zealand's news channels and you'll be confronted with images and stories of youth offending involving ram raids, burglaries, violent attacks and sexual assault. Youth crime is intensifying, with young offenders becoming ever more brazen. Ram raids have increased by more than 500% in just 4 years. Yet, very few offenders are being prosecuted. A recent police report reveals almost 2/3 are escaping prosecution entirely. Meanwhile, government data shows that aged 15 to 19 and 10 to 14s are being apprehended for burglary more than any other age groups. Politicians flip-flop between tough-on crime rhetoric and a softly, criminals are the real victims approach. But what is the best course of action to confront escalating youth crime? Are there any interventions and programs that could make a real difference? And when do the rights of victims and the rights of communities to live at peace in their own home and when out in the community become the priority? We believe there are some key areas to focus on, but first we must acknowledge our escalating youth crime problem. Until recently, the government seemed to downplay this problem, saying it was simply a short-term spike. The majority of Kiwi families, business owners and community leaders disagreed with the government's viewpoint. The government now concedes youth crime is getting out of control as they scramble to launch their $53 million Better Pathways package, which is designed to specifically tackle increased youth offending. The package mostly targets youth education and employment programs to address disengagement. Sure, education and employment must be foundational pillars in any program tackling youth crime, but unfortunately the government seems to ignore many other underlying causes, mainly the breakdown of family, fatherlessness, and the lack of positive role models. It's no secret, we believe that strong families are the foundation for a strong nation. We cannot overstate the importance of a properly functioning family with loving parents. The family is the most significant institution in our society. Before any of us become self-sufficient members of society, we are first part of a family. Before we become employees and voting citizens, we are first part of a family. Broken families lead often to brokenness in children. I know this firsthand, as at the age of 6 years old, my parents were divorced. An unashamed daddy's girl, Dad's absence in our home opened the door to more than just abandonment issues. Highlighting fathers, despite the anti-masculinity narrative of the liberal progressives, is also essential to physically protect their children and their families. Strong families are the foundation for producing positive outcomes in life. The family is foundational, so is marriage. Evidence shows that children do best when raised by their biological mother and father. A significant study carried out by Princeton University and Brookings Institution reveals most scholars now agree that children raised by two biological parents in a stable marriage do better than children in other family forms across a wide range of outcomes. And a report by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology also reveals boys in particular do much better when raised in a more traditional family environment. Mothers and fathers play equally important but different roles in a child's life. Both are vital to the development of children from infants through to adulthood. Marriage brings a stability which is not so easily replicated in other partnership arrangements. The traditional family unit has proven to be the best foundation for raising healthy children that are able to mature into fully functioning adults, coping with real-world challenges and making positive contributions to society. Brokenness within the family can short-circuit the healthy development of any child, often leading to increasing youth crime that we are now witnessing. A wealth of research has investigated associations between family structure and adverse outcomes. This research has shown that family factors and family structure have a greater impact on future risk of criminal offending, more so than the social-economic factors, albeit the two are closely intertwined. Children from broken families have a much greater risk of negative outcomes in life, including greater risk of poverty and increased likelihood of being imprisoned. Andrew Beecroft, who was previously a chief youth court judge and then the Children's Commissioner, lamented that so many young offenders are coming from families where there is a family breakdown, the absence of a father, and parenting difficulties. Sadly, New Zealand now has one of the highest rates of sole parenthood among developed countries. Approximately 1 in 4 families with dependent children are headed by a sole parent in this country. This is a similar rate to the USA, but more than double the EU average. More than 85% of single-parent families in New Zealand are fatherless families. In 2021, just over 101,000 fathers paid child support. Of these, 89% had 0% care of their children. It's worth considering just how significant fathers are to the well-being and development of children and ultimately towards the overall health of our society. It's very clear that children need both mothers and fathers. So is fatherlessness or absent fathers and family breakdown one of the main detriments of intensifying youth crime in New Zealand? The research suggests it is. An abundance of research reveals that for children, father absence is associated with poverty, material hardship, abuse and neglect, lower cognitive capacity, substance use, poorer physical and mental health, and criminal offending. This is not a criticism of single mothers doing the hard yards. They are to be acknowledged and honoured for their vital role in difficult circumstances. But most single mothers will also tell you just how much harder it is. Stats New Zealand recently announced that sole parents of dependent children report lower levels of well-being across a range of measures, including mental health and loneliness. The overwhelming majority of these sole parents were women. When a child is raised in a fatherless home, they are negatively affected in the following ways. 4 times greater risk of poverty, more likely to have behavioural problems, more likely to commit crime, more likely to go to prison, 7 times more likely to become pregnant as a teen, more likely to face abuse and neglect, more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, 2 times more likely to suffer obesity, 2 times more likely to drop out of school. It's almost certain that the majority of youth offenders in New Zealand will come from fatherless homes or from families in which the father is not a positive role model or is physically present but emotionally absent. Yes, we acknowledge there are exceptions. Not all marriages are healthy. Not all fathers being present in the home results in the best outcomes, but these exceptions actually prove the norm. So how can we strengthen families? We should be wary of too much government intervention into family life. It is parents, not the state, who raises our children. So in part, we should not expect a centralised governmental solution to solving family breakdown and fatherlessness. Ultimately, we must empower parents and wider whānau to take on greater responsibility for strengthening our own families. Faith also plays a vital role in the betterment of society. New Zealand has increasingly lurched away from its Christian foundations and the footprint of faith in this nation, and we're now seeing the fruits of this shift into secularism. If you remove God from society, government and family, then expect the unfavourable consequences we are now witnessing. If we are serious about tackling crime, we need to include a family approach. To focus on the offender without confronting the family issues is a band-aid treatment. To ignore the welfare and protection of the victims isn't justice. Crime starts at home, and it will continue to increase as long as we downplay the importance and significance of having 2 parents, a mum and a dad, committed to each other and to their children for life.